The smell of saltwater and fresh flowers filled the lobby as I scanned the next reservation on my screen. Then I saw it. Graham Larkin. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. My hands froze over the keyboard. It couldn't be the same person. But then I heard his voice cutting through the quiet afternoon air, loud and entitled, exactly as I remembered. He walked toward the front desk with designer sunglasses pushed up on his head, his wife following behind with shopping bags from expensive stores. My heart hammered in my chest. The man who had stolen my bonus 6 months ago was standing right in front of me, about to check into my hotel. He didn't recognize me yet. His eyes barely registered my face as he dropped his credit card on the marble counter. "Reservation for Larkin," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Ocean View Suite." I forced my expression to stay neutral, professional. "Of course, sir. Welcome to Ocean Crest Resort. My name is Colin Reese. 6 months ago, I was the senior operations coordinator at Ardent Property Group in Chicago. I wasn't the flashiest employee, but I was reliable. I managed client accounts, trained new staff members, and consistently hit every performance target the company set. I stayed late when projects needed finishing. I covered shifts when colleagues called in sick. I believed hard work mattered. When December rolled around, my director Graham personally praised me in our team meeting. "Colin has exceeded expectations this year," he announced to the room. Everyone clapped. I felt proud. Graham shook my hand afterward and said I deserved everything coming to me. I believed him. The company promised annual bonuses based on performance reviews. Mine was supposed to be $8,000. I'd already planned how to use it. My mother needed help with medical bills that insurance wouldn't cover. That money wasn't extra. It was necessary. Payday arrived on the last Friday of December. My coworkers celebrated at their desks, checking their bank accounts and making plans for the holidays. I opened my banking app during lunch, expecting to see the deposit. Nothing. I refreshed the screen 3 times. Still nothing. Confused, I walked down to Human Resources. The woman at the desk pulled up my file and frowned. "Your bonus was redirected," she explained carefully. "Departmental budget adjustments." I didn't understand. "But Graham approved my performance review himself," I said. She nodded sympathetically. "The decision came from his office. You'll need to speak with him directly." I walked back upstairs feeling hollow. Graham's office door was open. He sat behind his desk, looking relaxed, comfortable. Behind him against the wall sat a brand new set of designer luggage, still tagged. Expensive leather bags that probably cost more than my missing bonus. I knocked on his doorframe. Graham looked up, smiling easily. "Colin, what can I do for you?" I kept my voice steady. "HR said my bonus was redirected. I was wondering if there was a mistake." His smile didn't waver. "Not a mistake. Budget got tight at the end of the quarter. We had to reallocate some funds to cover departmental expenses. It's out of my hands." But his new luggage sat right there, gleaming under the office lights. "I was counting on that money," I said quietly. Graham leaned back in his chair. "We all have financial pressures, Colin. That's part of being an adult. Sometimes things don't work out the way we plan." His tone was dismissive, like he was explaining basic math to a child. I left his office without another word. My chest felt tight. My hands shook as I walked back to my desk. That night, I barely slept. The following week, everything changed. I was walking past the accounting department when I heard 2 assistants talking near the copy machine. "Did you see Graham's travel reimbursement?" one asked. "Luxury resort package for his whole family. Must be nice." My stomach dropped. I stopped walking. "How much was it?" I heard myself ask. They looked surprised to see me standing there. "Oh, hey Colin. I think it was around 8,000. Maybe a bit more. All on the company card. 8,000. The exact amount of my bonus." I felt sick. That afternoon, I stayed late after everyone left. I accessed the shared expense reports we all had permission to view for budget tracking. There it was. Graham's reimbursement request. Approved by himself. Ocean Crest Resort. Family vacation package. Total cost, $8,320. My bonus. Down to the dollar amount. I printed the report and took it home. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the numbers. He'd stolen from me. Not just money but months of work, of staying late, of believing the system was fair. I thought about confronting him publicly, about going to HR, about reporting him to upper management. But Graham had been with the company for 12 years. He had connections, friendships with executives, a reputation I couldn't compete with. If I accused him without proof, I'd look like a disgruntled employee making excuses. I needed more than one expense report. So I started digging quietly. Over the next 2 months, I collected evidence. Every questionable expense Graham approved. Every receipt that didn't quite add up. Every personal purchase labeled as business development. I documented everything, organized it carefully, and saved it to a personal drive. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. I just knew I needed protection. By March, the stress was destroying me. I couldn't sleep properly. I snapped at my roommate over small things. Every time I saw Graham in the office, smiling and joking with other directors, I felt rage building in my chest. My mother's medical bills kept coming. I'd borrowed money from my sister to help cover them. The debt weighed on me constantly. One Tuesday morning, I woke up and realized I couldn't do this anymore. Not the job, not the pretending, not the swallowing of anger every single day. I typed my resignation letter during my lunch break. 2 weeks' notice. Professional, polite, no mention of Graham or stolen bonuses or broken promises. I submitted it to HR that afternoon. When Graham heard, he actually looked relieved. "Sometimes a change is what we need," he told me, clapping my shoulder like we were old friends. "Good luck out there, Colin." I moved back to my hometown on the coast. My parents still lived there, and the slower pace felt like medicine after Chicago's intensity. I needed something simple, something that wouldn't remind me of corporate politics and stolen money. I found a job at Ocean Crest Resort, a luxury hotel right on the beach. The position was front desk operations manager. Good pay, decent benefits, and an ocean view from my office window. The work was straightforward. Check guests in, handle complaints, manage the front desk staff, ensure everything ran smoothly. No performance reviews that meant nothing. No directors taking credit for my work. Just honest labor with clear expectations. The first month, I started sleeping through the night again. The second month, I remembered what it felt like to not be angry all the time. By the third month, I'd almost forgotten about Graham Larkin entirely. Almost. Then came that Tuesday in September. I was reviewing the week's upcoming reservations when his name appeared on my screen. Graham Larkin. Party of 3. Ocean View Suite. 5 nights. Corporate credit card on file. Payment method, Ardent Property Group. My breath caught. He was still using company money. Still taking what wasn't his. Still acting like rules didn't apply to him. For a moment, I considered asking my manager to reassign the check-in to someone else. I could avoid him entirely, let him enjoy his vacation without ever knowing I worked here. But something stopped me. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the memory of his dismissive voice saying budget got tight. Maybe it was justice. I left his reservation assigned to me. When he arrived that afternoon, I was standing behind the front desk, professional smile ready, heart pounding against my ribs. He walked through the automatic doors like he owned the place. His wife wore a sundress that probably cost more than my rent. Their teenage son followed behind, earbuds in, barely looking up from his phone. Graham approached the desk and dropped his driver's license on the counter without making eye contact. "Reservation for Larkin," he announced. I picked up the license and glanced at his face, then at the screen, then back at him. "Of course, Mr. Larkin. Welcome to Ocean Crest Resort." He still didn't recognize me. Why would he? I'd been nobody to him, just another employee whose name he'd probably forgotten the week I left. I processed his information carefully, typing slowly, buying time to steady my nerves. His corporate credit card came next. Platinum. The same type of card that had paid for his last vacation with my money. "This will just take a moment," I said quietly. I ran the card for the standard pre-authorization. Hotels always do this, holding an amount to cover the stay plus incidentals. The machine buzzed once. Twice. Then finally approved. But that slight delay was unusual. Corporate cards typically process instantly. I made a mental note but said nothing. "You're all set, Mr. Larkin. Ocean View Suite, 5th floor. Breakfast is served from 6 to 10 in the main restaurant." I handed him the key cards. He took them without a thank you and walked toward the elevators. His wife smiled apologetically at me. "Sorry, long flight," she said. I nodded. "No problem at all. Enjoy your stay." After they disappeared into the elevator, I sat down at my desk and took a long breath. The universe had just handed me something unexpected. I wasn't sure what to do with it yet. But I knew I'd be watching. That evening, I watched Graham from my office window. The hotel bar overlooked the pool area, and I could see him clearly. He sat at a table with his wife, ordering drinks and appetizers, gesturing broadly while telling some story. When the server brought the check, he pulled out the corporate card with a flourish. The transaction went through fine. He added a 20% tip and signed with a lazy scrawl. Over the next 2 days, I noticed his pattern. Every meal charged to the room. Every drink at the bar. Spa treatments for his wife. Jet ski rental for his son. Everything went on that platinum card. The bills added up quickly. By Thursday morning, he'd already charged over $3,000 in extras beyond the room rate. I checked his pre-authorization status. Still holding, but getting close to the limit. Hotels typically hold about 20% above the room cost for incidentals. He was approaching that threshold. Thursday evening brought the shift. I was organizing paperwork when Angela from accounting called my extension. "Hey Colin, weird question. Do you have a Graham Larkin checked in?" My pulse quickened. "Yes, why?" She lowered her voice. "His payment method just got flagged by the credit card company. They're asking us to verify the charges are legitimate business expenses." I kept my tone neutral. "What does that mean for us?" Angela sighed. "Probably nothing immediately. But if the company disputes the charges or freezes the card, we might have issues. Just wanted to give you a heads up." I thanked her and hung up. So Graham's expense patterns had finally caught someone's attention. Maybe someone at Ardent reviewed his charges. Maybe someone noticed luxury resort vacations happening a little too frequently. Either way, the walls were starting to close in, and Graham had no idea. Friday morning, I was covering the front desk when Graham's wife approached. She wore tennis clothes and looked relaxed, happy. "Excuse me, could we add a couple's massage to our room? 2 o'clock if possible." I checked the spa availability. "Absolutely. That will be $460. Should I charge it to your room?" She nodded cheerfully. I processed the booking. The system accepted it, but I noticed another slight delay before approval. Something was definitely happening on the back end. That evening, I saw them at dinner through the restaurant's glass walls. They ordered wine, steaks, dessert. The server brought the check. Graham handed over his card. 5 minutes passed. 10. The server returned to their table looking uncomfortable. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw Graham's expression change from relaxed to confused to annoyed. He gestured toward the front desk. I knew what was coming. Graham stormed across the lobby, his wife trailing behind looking embarrassed. "There's something wrong with your system," he announced loudly. "My card isn't working." Other guests turned to look. I kept my voice calm and professional. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Larkin. Let me check your account." I pulled up his folio. The pre-authorization was maxed out, and new charges were being declined. "It appears the card has reached its authorization limit," I explained quietly. "You'll need to provide an additional payment method for extra charges, or contact your credit card company to increase the authorization." His face reddened. "That's impossible. This is a corporate card. There's no limit." I stayed silent, letting him process. His wife touched his arm. "Graham, just use your personal card for now. We can sort it out later." He pulled out his wallet and threw a different card on the counter. "Fine. Run this one." I processed his personal card. It declined immediately. He stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed him. "That's not possible," he said again, quieter this time. "Try it again." I ran it twice more. Both times, declined. "Mr. Larkin, you may want to call your bank. Sometimes cards get flagged for fraud protection when used far from home." It wasn't entirely untrue, though I suspected his personal card was simply maxed out. His wife's expression shifted from embarrassed to concerned. "Graham, what's going on?" He ignored her, pulling out his phone and stepping away from the desk. I heard him say, "Yes, this is Graham Larkin. My card's being declined and I'm at a hotel. Can you tell me why?" The conversation continued in hushed, urgent tones. His wife watched him, arms crossed. Their son appeared from the elevator and immediately sensed tension. "What's wrong?" She shook her head. "I don't know." Graham returned to the desk, his face pale now instead of red. "The restaurant bill," he said stiffly. "Can you just add it to the room?" I checked his folio again. "Sir, your room charges are currently on hold due to the payment issue. I can't authorize additional charges until we have a valid payment method on file." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Colin. That's your name, right?" He'd finally read my name tag. "Look, I don't know what's happening with the cards. But I'm a loyal guest here. Surely we can work something out." I met his eyes directly. "I understand this is frustrating, Mr. Larkin. Unfortunately, hotel policy requires valid payment before we can authorize additional services. If you'd like, I can contact my manager to discuss options." The word manager seemed to deflate him. He knew what that meant. Escalation. More questions. More attention to his situation. That's when recognition finally dawned. He stared at me, really seeing my face for the first time. "Wait. You worked for Ardent. Operations coordinator." I nodded slowly. "That's right. Small world." His expression shifted through several emotions at once. Surprise, embarrassment, then something like fear. He understood now. I wasn't just some random hotel employee. I was someone who knew exactly what he'd done. Someone who remembered. "How long have you worked here?" he asked carefully. "Few months now. I moved back home after leaving Chicago." I kept my voice neutral, professional. No accusation, no satisfaction. Just facts. His wife was watching our exchange with growing confusion. "Graham, do you know him?" He swallowed hard. "We used to work together." I smiled politely. "I'll give you some time to sort out the payment situation, Mr. Larkin. Take your time." He walked away without another word, his family following. Saturday morning brought consequences. I arrived for my shift to find my general manager waiting in the lobby. "Colin, my office please." I followed him upstairs. He closed the door and gestured to a chair. "I got a call from Arden Property Group this morning. Their finance department." My stomach tightened. "What did they say?" He leaned against his desk. "They're conducting an investigation into unauthorized use of corporate funds. Apparently, one of their directors has been charging personal expenses to the company card for months. They've frozen all his payment methods and flagged every transaction he's made." I nodded slowly. "Graham Larkin." He watched me carefully. "You know him personally?" I chose my words precisely. "He was my director at Ardent. I left 6 months ago." My manager was quiet for a moment. "Any issues I should know about?" I shook my head. "No, sir. Just coincidence that he's staying here." He studied my face, then nodded. "All right. Well, Ardent is sending someone to settle the bill and retrieve their corporate card. They ask that we not allow Mr. Larkin to check out until their representative arrives." I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief that this wasn't my problem. Satisfaction that Graham was finally facing consequences. And underneath it all, a small voice reminding me that watching someone's life fall apart wasn't actually victory. "Understood," I said. "I'll make sure he stays put." Downstairs, I returned to the front desk. Around 10 o'clock, Graham appeared. He looked like he hadn't slept. "I need to check out early," he said. "Family emergency." I pulled up his account. "I'm sorry, Mr. Larkin, but there's a hold on your checkout. Your company has requested that you remain until their representative arrives." His face went white. "What representative?" I explained what I knew, keeping my tone professional and sympathetic. He sank into one of the lobby chairs, head in his hands. His wife came down an hour later, suitcases in tow. Their son followed. "Graham, what is happening?" she demanded. "Why is the hotel saying we can't leave?" He looked up at her, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Shame. Real, crushing shame. "They're investigating me at work," he said quietly. "The credit cards. I might have used them for personal things." Her expression hardened. "Personal things? Like this vacation?" He didn't answer. She turned to her son. "Get our bags. We're leaving." Graham stood. "Amanda, wait. Let me explain." But she was already walking toward the exit. Their son grabbed the suitcases and followed without looking back. Graham started after them, then stopped, seeming to realize he couldn't leave. He was stuck. Trapped in a luxury resort that had become his prison. He returned to the chair and sat down heavily. From my desk, I watched him. I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected. The Ardent representative arrived at 2 o'clock. A woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase. She identified herself to me as Helen from corporate compliance. "I'm here regarding Graham Larkin." I directed her to the seating area where Graham still sat. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I watched his body language. Defensive at first, then resigned. She handed him papers. He signed them without reading. After 15 minutes, she approached my desk. "I'll be settling Mr. Larkin's bill with a company check. Please provide the itemized statement." I printed everything. 5 nights accommodation. Meals. Spa services. Rentals. Drinks. The total came to just over $9,000. Helen wrote the check without comment, then turned back to Graham. Your personal belongings will be packed and sent to your home address. You're to come with me now. He stood slowly, like an old man. As he walked past the front desk, he stopped. Colin. I looked at him. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't respond immediately. Part of me wanted to throw his own words back at him. Sometimes things don't work out the way we plan. But standing there, watching him leave in disgrace, I realized something. I didn't need his apology. What happened to Graham wasn't my doing. I hadn't reported him. I hadn't sabotaged his cards. I hadn't called his company. He'd done all of this to himself. His greed, his carelessness, his certainty that rules didn't apply to him, that's what destroyed him. I was just a witness. I hope you figure things out, Mr. Larkin, I said. He nodded and walked out with Helen. The automatic doors closed behind them. The lobby returned to its normal quiet rhythm. Guests checking in, staff moving efficiently, the ocean visible through the windows. Everything exactly as it should be. I took a deep breath and felt something lift. Not revenge. Just relief. 3 weeks later, my manager called me into his office again. Corporate wants to expand your role, he said. Guest services manager. Salary increase, better benefits, more responsibility. I blinked in surprise. Really? He smiled. Colin, you've handled every situation with professionalism and grace. The way you managed the Larkin situation especially impressed them. You stayed calm, followed protocol, didn't let personal history affect your work. That's exactly what we need in leadership. I accepted the promotion. Not because it validated anything. Not because it proved I was better than Graham. Simply because I'd earned it through actual work, actual competence. The kind of success that didn't require stealing from others. That evening, I walked along the beach behind the hotel. The sun was setting, painting the water in oranges and purples. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely at peace. Not because Graham had fallen. Because I'd risen on my own merit. A month after that, I was reviewing new corporate accounts when I saw it. Ardent Property Group had booked a conference at our resort. 50 rooms, 3 days, full catering. The contact person was someone named Patricia Henley. New Director of Operations. I processed the booking professionally, just another corporate client. But I allowed myself a small smile. Graham was gone. Someone else had his job now. Someone who hopefully valued the people who worked for them. That evening, I stood at my office window watching the ocean. The waves rolled in with perfect consistency, patient and unstoppable. I thought about everything that had happened. The stolen bonus. The months of anger. The impossible coincidence of Graham walking into my hotel. His downfall. My promotion. None of it felt like revenge. It felt like balance. Like the universe correcting itself. I didn't need Graham's apology or his money. I had something better. Dignity. Honest work. And the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd never become what he was. I turned from the window and went back to work.